Hi there, I'm Tuấn Le and welcome to my channel. From all of my previous experience in training and coaching people to understand better about MBTI or the Myers-Briggs type indicator, a very common question or pain point that my students have is that they are usually unsure of one or two letters of their type. It's very common for people to be unsure whether they are an introvert or extrovert or intuitive or sensing. Slightly less common, but still, is that the people also not sure whether they are feeling dominant or thinking dominant or judging or perceiving dominant. So, through all of my previous training and coaching experience, I have put together this short video that will take you through the essential fundamental definitions of each of the dimensions, uh, and so that you can understand and decide for yourself better what is your preference. Enjoy. Carl Jung, as mentioned, has is the first to pinpoint two very distinctive but equally valid worlds: the inner world and outer world. The inner world are more subjective. Only you, the subject, can see it. It's your thoughts, your memory, your subjective interpretation, your prediction, your feeling, your priority, what is important to you. Those are subjective. Only you can see it. And there is a more objective outer world of people, objects, activities, common shared knowledge and ideas endorsed by others. It's something that everyone can see, everyone can easily accept it. And I think I have mentioned before that is extroversion and introversion is, I would, it's less of left and right hand and more, it's more of an environment. It's more like the medium. So so I like to make a metaphor of the shore versus land. If you are a strong swimmer, you still have to go back to the shore to recharge. And that is the meaning of your psychic energy, your cognitive energy. Some people are so ambiverted, so well developed in both side of extrovert and introvert. Sometimes they kind of lost touch with who they really are. Then this is a very good metaphor for them to think about. If you want to know whether you are an introvert, then is the inner world and your solitude similar to the shore to you? If you feel tired, if you swim for the whole day in the world of people and activity, would you feel very drained? And vice versa for extroverts. So they are more like medium and less of, yeah, it's more of a medium or an environment that you feel energized. That is a very basic definition of that. Characteristic wise, they also display behaviors, which again I would caution is not the same as personalities. Behaviors can be adapted very easily based on the situation. But overall, extroverts tend to appear lively, animated, colorful in their style and dressing, talk faster and warm and friendly. Introverts are usually, if they're comfortable, they appear more calm, quiet, reflective. They talk in a more thoughtful manner. Their dressing style is more understated, black color, maybe dark color, and may appear aloof and distant and maybe misunderstood as being unfriendly, even though they are not, they're just being comfortable. So we go to the first exercise here. Do you know your preferences after this? After the original definition, do you know your preference? And if you know your preference on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being extreme introvert and 10 extreme extrovert, where do you put yourself? This is how you perceive information. Is abstract versus concrete. Intuition is about the meaning of things, the connection between things, the possibility and potential. While sensing is concrete, it is what it is. A dog, a book, the details. The sensing dominant people prefer to see things as they are. They want to know the details. They are less interested in the more abstract connections. So if you tell a sensing person a dog, they are very curious to know what is the color of the dog, what breed is the dog. While an abstract person, an intuitive person would care more about the idea of the dog. What does it represent? What are the things related to the dog itself? They spend less there's cognitive energy, psychic energy to the details. Behaviors wise, another way for you to make sense of this in terms of the persona. That is two pictures that represent. Sensors are more realistic, more traditional, more detail oriented, more concerned with what is trending and popular, more what is established, what is in the current context. If I am at a certain age, am I supposed to get a nice car, nice watches, this family, that family, dressed in a certain way that fit into the current trends? It's slightly similar to the idea of extroversion, but different. Intuitive, you can imagine them as being more quirky, more absent-minded, more like head in a cloud kind of people. And intuitive are about the minority, they're about 25 to 30% of the population. Another example of intuition versus sensing, let's say there's the same book in the store and two people, one is intuitive, one is sensing, look at that book, notice that book. They probably, if they spend long enough time, they probably notice a lot of details, but the intuitive person tend to notice the bigger ideas instead of the details. Oh, what is the book about? Is it relevant to me? And then after a while, and then I think it look a bit old. The book is a bit worn out. The sensing person, maybe when they already notice what is, the cover is already torn off. They already notice that. They already notice the design, the color of the book. Already like very striking, very funny, interesting. Then they notice, okay, what is the idea behind the book? Is it relevant to me? You see a caricature of the contrasting difference. Of course, not everyone is the same, but that is the general idea. So similar to the previous exercise, what is your preference and on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being sensing and 10 intuitive, where do you put yourself? So we are going to thinking and feeling. Again, it's not about emotion or logic. They're both logical. They have their own sense of logic, but thinking is about impersonal decision making. Feeling is subjective. It's about personal or interpersonal decision making. So let's say, for example, if I were to decide what car to buy, a feeling person might have a much easier time just say what car they like, either based on color, brands. They have actually very strong feeling of what they like, for example. A thinking person might want to remove their personal preference from that equation. Of course, everyone have
preference, personal preference, but a thinking person might try to reduce that the weight of personal preference, and they might come up with a bunch of others more quantifiable criteria, such as what the speed of the car, what is the investment value of the car, what is the utility that they can get out of the car, that kind of thing. An extreme feeling person likes, oh, I like that brand, I like Mercedes. Oh, I like that color, that looks so cute, I just take it. I don't care what is the value or utility, I just take it. That kind of thing. So another example is like my father and my mom again, for example. My father is a lot more thinking. So when he get a car, he would choose a car that is secondhand, and it's a Camry, secondhand Camry. When you think, oh, a secondhand, that is a very good value car, and you buy a secondhand car, it won't drop in value for so fast. But my mom, she wouldn't care too much about as a stay home, especially as a stay home housewife. She care more about what she like and what is considered what appeal to her senses. So she also, I want a black color Mercedes, brand new, because well, it look very prestigious, and she only know about few brand, and Mercedes appear to be very high class. So that's it. Color, brand, and she don't really care how much you're going to spend on it, or the fact that it's going to drop in value a lot. So that is an example of very pure thinking and feeling. Of course, we use both. When we deal with complex problem, we use both. But if you pay enough attention, there's always different weights and complexity that people use to different factors. Thinking, the factor have always been more utilitarian, more quantifiable, like deduction, reasoning, numbers, measurements. Feeling is more about personal values, moral principle, feeling of other people, the vibe, the harmony among people, feeling of other people preference, your own preferences. So it's all about that energy that is very hard to measure, that preferences and priority. So I think it's a lot more easier to understand than intuition and sensing. That's why I wouldn't need too much elaboration here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think is your in the scale? With 1 is extreme F and 10 is extreme T. So judging and perceiving is technically not a Jungian function. It's invented by MBTI and Myers-Briggs to help with the typing. So I'll just quickly go through. So it's correlate with the idea, the definition of judging and perceiving is whether your dominant extroverted function is a judging or perceiving. So if you are an introvert, then it's not about the first function, but it's a second function. So it's slightly complicated without the understanding of the function stack. Unlike for me, I'm INFP. Even though my first function is introverted feeling, which is feeling is a judging function, but because it's introverted, so it's not counted. It's not counted as a, so I'm not counted as a judging type. I stay with a P, INFP, because my extrovert function is extroverted intuition. Intuition is a perceiving, so it's a P. So that's slightly complicated, but as essential understanding of judging and perceiving, a simple understanding is about the need for closure and structure, external structure. And that's related to J people. They like to follow rules and steps and procedures and the norms. They like to have clear, measurable objective, and they want to make the deadline and close projects. While the P people, their sense of time is more fluid. They like to go with the flow. They like to work in a very they don't work at a steady pace. They like closer to the deadline, they work faster, and they like to rush things. They're not good with deadline stuff. Not the same as being organized or messy, but the meet might be correlated. But again, work corporate job now, they force people to be J a lot. So a lot of people after work, they come to the middle and become more J after a while.